right, and that we do have an issue that we need to be dealing with. And another example of what has surfaced, or what's come to be known in the last few days, is that revenue from January is down from a sales tax and fee standpoint, down about a little over 7% from what it was a year ago. And so one more economic indicator on the fact that we're probably seeing a downward trend in our economy. So today, we've been talking about what we believe to be the need for a stimulus package, and today we're going to continue to work on that. The majority party and the governor is not going to recognize the fact that we need to do something about it. They want to continue to sit around on their hands and wait for someone else. That seems to be their position. You know, interestingly, it's generally their position until it came to the health care bill that Senator Hatch introduced the other day, and all of a sudden in that particular issue they thought that it wasn't necessary to wait for the federal government. We should move forward on something in Iowa. So I guess you can have it either way if you're the majority party. But today, Senate Republicans would like to continue to talk about our sales tax holiday, and we want to introduce a couple of new pieces for you. We think that we need to be concerned about our workforce in the state of Iowa, and also Iowans' home, the property taxes that they have to pay on their homes is very, very important to us. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Senator Ward and Senator Kettering, and they talk a little bit about some of the new issues that we'd like to talk about.
Will you pass the microphone?
Let me join the media in lobbying for a podium in the Minority Leader's office. So I'm with you.
We can't pay for it, though. You guys have to pony up.
We have to pay for it?
I'll take care of it.
Okay. Skilled workforce is the topic I have, and it's well documented that in the next 5 years we face a shortage of skilled workers to the tune of about 150,000. And as we transition into the new economy, it's going to be vital that we have an educated workforce to offer our employers. And to that end, what we're offering today is a plan that calls for 1% of withholding taxes to be dedicated to a new job training program for development, for training, retraining of existing workers. It's a pool of money that can be accessed by businesses for that purpose. 50% of it will go to anybody that's in business, companies of any size. 40% of it will be restricted to companies that have employees of 50 or less, and 10% will go to targeted, dislocated worker type programs. And these will give business in Iowa the tools to create and retrain and provide new jobs and new employment for Iowans.
The next component of our plan would actually reward homeowners who expand or improve their homes. And it would do this by exempting those improvements or expansions from property tax increases for a period of 5 years. We believe this is important, number one, to encourage homeowners to make those improvements, and really rewards all homeowners that have pursued the American dream of owning their own home. There are many downs in the economy, and one that's important to be mindful of is the construction industry. So we believe this will be a boost to the construction industry as homeowners are able to make improvements to their homes rather than possibly buying a new home.
And then the other bullet item here, you got expansion of Iowa's tax-free weekend.
Yes, and I would talk just a little bit about that. Just to give you more details on that, and what we would propose currently, the tax-free weekend would be August 1st and 2nd, I believe, would be the dates that it would be. And it would be pretty much limited to clothing items, school-related items, as it's been in the past. And our plan, obviously, would extend it to be a 3-day holiday weekend, so it would not just be a 2-day holiday weekend. It would be August 1st through the 3rd, and we would open the tax-free piece up to where anything that people pay sales tax on would be included. So anything that you'd have to pay sales tax on, you'd be able to buy without having to pay sales tax. To give you an example, you know, I know there's a little bit of a holdup with the federal piece, but let's assume that we're able to get the federal money that's been talked a lot about, and a family of four, based on the current proposals, would receive about $1,800, or would receive $1,800 from the federal government. Our proposal would be that they would be able to get that $1,800, and they'd be able to take that to the retailer, and they would be able to buy anything that they have to pay sales tax on without paying the sales tax, which would expand their $1,800 based on a 6% sales tax to $108. There would be an additional $108 there that would go back into the Iowa economy. And last but not least, on the sales tax piece and what that would mean to Iowa families, is one of the things that we led on was the fact that we want Iowans to not have to pay Iowa income tax on that $1,800 or whatever the amount is that they get. So we're really talking about going from $1,800 to $1,908 plus them not having to pay income tax on it, which would expand the amount of dollars at the end of the day that they would have to spend.
One other question, the 1% of the withholding paid by businesses, how much would that?
It's about $2.4 billion that's withheld, so 1% of that would be about $24 million.
Are you abandoning the $200 million income tax cut?
Definitely not. We continue to work on that. That's a piece that requires a lot more work than a lot of the other pieces that we're talking about. We continue to work on that.
Senator Kettering, can I ask you? Your proposals on this, instead of giving it to like community colleges for retraining, you give it directly to the business. Can you talk to me why that choice was made?
It doesn't exclude community colleges. It could continue to go through, some of it could go through community colleges. But for instance, the 260F program, which retrains Iowa workers, only has about $4 million going to it. So it will complement that. But it wouldn't be exclusively through community colleges. There may be small firms that need specialized training that can only be provided by outside vendors. They could bring that in. They might be able to do on-the-job training with their employees. So it's not meant to exclude. It just expands.
Is this limited at all? Is there anything that, is everything some kind of skill? Is it a limited skills?
We haven't developed a skill set that's going to qualify. That'll obviously have to be fleshed out. That's not been determined yet, but it would go through the Department of Economic Development to come up with those rules.
Do you know what the piece would cost on the 5-year exemption for home improvements? Any estimate?
It really won't cost anything because currently these homes don't have the expansion, so the property tax base isn't there. So it really has no cost to government. It just is an incentive to get homeowners to make improvements, to build those additions, to add those family rooms for their families.
It wouldn't have any cost to state government, but wouldn't it have a financial impact on local government?
Not really, because the property tax base isn't there right now. So they don't lose anything other than potentially future revenue, but they'll get that after 5 years.
So you're
it's an incentive.
You're assuming that these people won't make these improvements without this. That's kind of the assumption, right?
We're encouraging people to move ahead in an economy that isn't strong and to make those improvements for their families. And we think this is a small piece that we can do to give them that extra incentive.
So what kind of things are included with this? I mean, if you go paint your house, that doesn't go, but there has to be a minimum somewhere.
Well, I think that would depend on what the tax man says. If it's a visible improvement or if it's a significant improvement, I think most homeowners are required to go to their city governments and get a permit to make that expansion. Certainly those would fall into this category. But I think any measurable improvement would certainly be eligible for a big tax hike, a property tax hike, if the government entity was aware of it. And this would say that those are exempt from that tax hike for 5 years.